Oh, hi everyone. We are live with Amy from Tilt Strategic. How are you all doing? Here in the UK, we are covered in snow, which is beautiful and amazing, but my kids are home from school, which means it's a little chaotic in our house. It's like the first time their school has closed in like 20 years for snow. So it's a really exciting day for them and a little chaotic for us, but we're making it work. So today we have Amy joining us. Thank you, Amy, so much for being here. And I think you've got a really great story to share with us about how you started your virtual assistant business, how you're able to travel with your young son as you work. So you take your work with you. And it's just really interesting to see why this kind of career appealed to you, how you kind of fell into it, or maybe how you strategically started it. Yeah, we're all really interested to hear about you. You're based in Ontario, Canada.
I am currently based in Ontario, Canada, yes. I sort of go back and forth between BC and Ontario a lot. My ex-husband's family is in Ontario or in BC, so I'll spend a portion of each year out there as well.
Perfect. So you are able to kind of take your work with you and spend your time in wherever you want, really, or wherever you need to be.
I have my little Mac laptop and I've got my Wacom tablet, and as long as I've got an internet connection, I'm pretty much good to go. My virtual assistant stuff, I do more of the design. And when I first started my journey, I was actually working for a communications and digital agency, and my background is in both fine arts and graphic design. So I was able to translate that. I think a lot of people who do the virtual assistant world, they get tired of the 9-to-5 reality, or they find that the traditional working world doesn't really work for them. And that's how it was for me. But I was lucky in the sense that I had the very strong design background to fall upon and do freelance. Which you would think means I would be a freelance designer or something. Mm-hmm. But I found most of my clients, it wasn't so much that they needed help with, or it was at first, but then once their business was up and running, it was a lot of other things. It was a constant battle for my clients. Great, I've got a logo. How do I have a website? Okay, great, I've got a website. How do I get people to come to it? And I got so fascinated with that idea that I just kept trying to learn more and more. And my clients started calling me the problem solver. Mm-hmm. And I sort of realized I had transitioned out of true design into more of the virtual assistant world, or the online business management world, and decided to start calling myself that, and kept niching from there.
So you worked in corporate, mm-hmm. and then what made you, I know you said the 9-to-5 wasn't really fitting your lifestyle at the time. So how did that transition happen? Did you quit your job? Did you have some savings saved?
Yeah, it was a slower transition. I started taking on freelance clients who couldn't afford sort of the business I was working for on the side, and it was all above board. It was okay. My bosses were totally fine with it. But I wanted to travel. Traveling was a really big deal to me. This was right before I got pregnant with my son. And at that point, my ex-husband, he was really happy with that idea of traveling as well, and sort of having a very free-spirited lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So as I started taking more and more freelance jobs, we decided to just toss it all in. We were very lucky, though. He was federal government, and I had a pension, and we both cashed out our pensions early to do this. So we were very lucky in that way. And he also was very lucky in the sense that he could work from anywhere because he's a software designer.
Oh, perfect.
So it was, I know a lot of other people have a lot more challenges that way than we did. They have a lot more barriers getting past the stability of the 9 to 5 into it. I think if I had my child, I probably wouldn't have dove into it quite as readily. It was right before I got pregnant. But even after I had my son, for the first 2 years, as I said, we lived over in Spain. We spent 3 months doing a road trip across the United States, which was manageable with my son when he was little, before school started.
Yeah. And that whole time while you're traveling, you had your freelance clients that you were working for and earning some income from.
Yeah. So it was mornings wherever we were the night before, we had to be close to a town or a campsite or somewhere that had an internet connection. And we would get up quite early and head to the local coffee shop or whatever. And we would put in about 4 hours in before getting back out. And then we might spend a couple of hours in the evening working on native files that didn't need internet or anything in preparation for the next day. So
you essentially kind of, like you said, you kind of dipped your toe in the water of like freelance work by sort of doing it as a side hustle outside of your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It was like you came home from work and you do some freelance work. How did you get those freelance clients? Did you have a website? Did you?
I didn't have a website. I you know what? This is always everybody's big trick to find their first clients or to keep themselves busy. So many people who go to the freelance world or the online world, they'll start off by getting clients that they know. And everybody says that. I don't think anybody says any differently. Your first clients are always going to be people you know, your friends and your family. But it's how to maintain that after, your friends and your family have gone on. And it's no secret, but it's a lot of work, and it's all about networking. I spend incredible amounts of time either online on Facebook groups or at various the co-office working spaces, stuff like that, trying to make network connections so I can continuously be busy. And you do reach a tipping point eventually where you don't have to work as hard that way, but the networking is really all it's about. It's also being kind, weirdly enough.
Not weirdly enough. That makes perfect sense. I've seen that in action. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like sometimes I watch people and they'll go into a networking event or they'll talk to people at the coffee shop or wherever, or at a party, almost trying to do a hard sell with themselves. Like, well, this is my business. Do you want to hire me, sort of thing? I would love it if we could work together. But sometimes just the kindness of giving a little bit of yourself for free actually makes even more of a difference. The amount of clients I've gotten because I've given stuff for free, and it's pretty counterintuitive because you talk to everybody on the internet and they say, don't give away stuff for free. Don't do it. Get paid for your time. And I'm not saying don't value your time, but I'm saying sometimes that, just sitting down and giving people some of your knowledge can be an invaluable way of making a really strong connection, and they're just going to trust you through that. So between the idea of just making connections and being really kind is kind of how I've done my best business.
I completely agree. And it's not just that person that you're helping in that moment that you're potentially you might see a client in them at some stage, but you're also leaving such a good impression with them that they're going to kind of refer you to anyone they find who might need your support. So if anybody comes to them, they can send them your way because you've left such an amazing impression and they trust you and they value you, and they're just going to potentially send clients your way.
Exactly.
So it's like it spreads, doesn't it? The kindness, it's like a ripple effect. So
it really is. Yeah. I guess whenever people ask, my big pieces of advice are make use of social media, be kind wherever you go, and make sure whatever product you're giving to the client, it's on time, always on time, and make sure it's good. Make sure that you've done it to the very best of your ability. A lot of complaints that I hear in the virtual business world is the people not giving things in on time. I've heard so many stories of other virtual assistants or freelance designers or whatever, their flakiness. Which is kind of it's kind of a sad thing. So you have to make sure for your own business, you can't be that person.
Yes, you can't be that person. I completely agree with you. I see that time and time again of client and VA relationships breaking down because the expectations aren't being set from the beginning as to when things should be delivered, how they should be delivered, when the VA should be available, how tasks are going to be delegated and managed. I think there needs to be a lot of upfront communication and agreement as to how they're going to be working together.
Oh, for sure. My processes are like a never evolving.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to evolve my processes of my client onboarding and getting them prepared. I'm always pushing that one to try and figure out the best way of communication. And you have to realize it will change with different clients. I have some clients that are really not technically savvy at all, and they would prefer the phone call. And I have other clients where I can put them onto Asana with me, and that's all great and groovy and everything like that. But you have to work with a client. You have to set client expectations, although that's kind of a cliched word that's really bothering me these days. I swear I can set client expectations and I still get the craziest things asked of me. And I'm like, well, where did that come from? And you sort of just have to roll with the punches, and you're always going to make mistakes, always, which is, I think, why your processes and your contracts and have to constantly evolve.
Yeah, completely. They're always a work in progress. You're never going to be done with adjusting them and making your process better.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing to just constantly, with every new client, you're just going to make your process better and better. Yes. And don't you feel like there's a lot of educating sometimes that needs to be done with clients, especially who haven't worked with a VA before, just educating them about you are a business owner, you're not their employee, and you have your boundaries and you have your way of doing things. And your way of doing things is the way because it's worked for you and for your past clients. So it's kind of educating them that this might be the best process for you.
Yeah.
Because you're the expert.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love it if my clients thought I was the expert all the time. Yes, this is a huge thing. It's a strange feeling. When I was working in the corporate 9-to-5 sort of world, I wasn't the boss, and that was fine. And I was totally okay with that. I was part of a really great team, and I learned how to be a really great designer because of it. But then coming out on my own, there's a boss persona, a boss feeling, I don't know, that you sort of have to put on and embrace for so many reasons so that clients don't, step past your boundaries. And it can be, for me, it was very, very different. And at first I was very unsure of myself if I should be setting this boundary or pushing this or saying, no, I don't agree with that. I really feel it should be done this way, because I wasn't used to it. Sometimes I'm still like that. It depends on the personality of the client. If they're like a total type A, I can be like, yeah. But it is, the boss persona for me was something I had to definitely work on to be, this has always worked for me in the past. Let's give this a try. That being said, every once in a while, a client totally surprises me and they, insist on something different and it totally works. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, learning lesson for me too.
Absolutely. I think there's definitely room for learning from your clients as well. Definitely. And I love how you say that you stepped into your boss persona. That is so cool. And it doesn't happen overnight, does it? It's kind of
No, it doesn't happen overnight. So much of it doesn't. The other big one that did not happen overnight was the self-discipline to sit down at my computer every day. Especially when you're looking at dishes undone in the sink and laundry on the couch that's not folded. And
how do you keep yourself disciplined?
You know what? It's actual practice. It really is. The first 2 years I was awful at it. It is practice, like everything else in this world. Unfortunately, once again, there's no secret formula for it. You get practice, and you also get scared when you have to pay bills. It's amazing what, overdue bills can make you accomplish.
Yeah, get the hustle out.
Yes. So, but it is definitely, once again, like the boss persona, the sitting down and doing your work at your computer every day it takes practice to form that discipline. It's not going to be an overnight thing. You're not going to sit down at your computer and always be super disciplined. And some days, even after years of it, you're not going to. And you know what? Then don't. If it's just not working for you that day, this is why we're so lucky to do the job we have, because we can make that decision that, you know what, I'd probably be better walking out in the forest right now and going out for a walk, going to the park early with my children or whatever. Which is, I think, why a lot of people want to do this job is once again, that 9 to 5 doesn't work for so many reasons. Sometimes people can focus really, really well for 2 weeks straight, and then they flake out for 4 days. And the corporate world doesn't allow you to do that. But if that's how you work and you can make that part of your lifestyle, that's really awesome in my world. So
yeah, absolutely.
Definitely the sitting down, the discipline is, I was a good 2 years before I could do it on a regular basis. It helps when you've got support. I have friends though whose partners don't understand. They're like, well, you're at home anyways. Why aren't the dishes done?
Oh, I hate that so much. When or your friends call you on the phone for a chat because you're just at home anyway. And it's you have to set boundaries with your family and friends as well. I find myself doing that all the time. Like call me during my lunch break, which is between 12 and 1. Don't call me any other time. That's allowed. So how long have you been working as a virtual assistant or owning your own freelance business? Because you do web design and graphic design as well. I
do. As I said, that's sort of where clients usually find me, but then they usually end up hiring me for specific VA, more VA stuff, content creation. A big one I get hired for is actually organization. Nobody seems to understand how an inbox is supposed to work.
Yeah.
So things like that, I will get hired for eventually, which is why I sort of advertise myself as a VA. It's a bit easier to understand. So how long? I have been doing the virtual assistant work for about 2 years now. And then before that, I was doing graphic design, sort of freelance work, and web design freelance work for 2 years. So 4 years total.
Okay. Perfect. And I love how you say, so you're basically like, I love how you said you're a problem solver. So you already had the answers to these people's problems. Like you knew how to do them anyway, how to manage inboxes, how to set up a
that's not true.
Oh, you didn't?
No. That was all learning for me over the past 4 years. As things happened, I guess I constantly question things. I'm always questioning, like, how to make this easier. I feel like there should be, if there isn't, there should be an application to make everything easier online. I think it stems from the fact that my ex-husband was a software developer and designer. So in my mind, he always showed me things I didn't even know were capable on computers. So these days when I say, well, there must be an easier way, I go searching and chances are there always is. But it became, I'm sort of like this halfway between a left brain creative but I also really like spreadsheets, go figure. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm like this middle of the road person, and they don't exist very often. People tend to be either super creative and messy left brain, or super right brained. I suppose we all have crossovers and everything like that, but I swear I'm like dead set in the middle, and I don't know anybody else who is. I get just as excited about like, some great piece of art as I do about like, my latest analytics coming through on Google. So it was me trying to figure things out, how to get organized better, that I learned this for the clients. But it really comes across, if you can fine tune your personal processes, your personal organization, so the client is never saying, what do I do next or anything like that, they will praise you to the skies. And it's hard for people that aren't as organized, and I totally get that. But in my mind, it goes right up there. Being networking, being kind, and being organized and automated are like the three most essential things for success, I feel. For myself anyways.
No, I think you're absolutely right. Establishing really great processes just makes your life easier. It makes your clients' life easier. It makes them want to work with you. It makes you look more professional. Being kind is just, everyone wins.
Yeah.
I think those are great pillars for success. Absolutely. I just wanted to say, if anyone has any questions for Amy, just pop them in the comments below and we'll just address them in the conversation. So yeah, feel free to comment, question, anything you want, just fire away. So I'm interested to learn, how do you get your clients now? Is it the same process of networking and things like that and referrals, or do you kind of have a strategy for getting new clients? Like,
yeah, the strategy has never changed, and I honestly don't think it will. I often feel like Facebook is actually doing us a really great disfavor whenever you get on your newsfeed and you see the number one way to increase conversions and get clients and be booked out months in advance. I think that strategy might be good for some people, but definitely not everybody. And I really wish there was a secret that I could share, because many of my clients would like to know too. And I would like to have that Facebook where I can guarantee it 100% of the time, but I just don't think it's a reality and it's feasible. There is no one way of doing it. Networking is always a part of it. Being helpful is always a part of it. I think people don't give niching the right idea. People are scared of niching. They think if they niche, they will lose clients.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? How did you find your niche, and how would
I
you
needed to do something better for the world. So I work specifically with charities, nonprofits, and social enterprises. It's my target market. And it sort of stemmed from, I was working with a lot of people who were doing everything from selling vitamins to fashion to people doing hockey camps. I am Canadian after all. And all of this stuff. And I just had no interest in some of it. And I really, while I could get behind the design of it or something like that, if I was designing a poster or a website, I always get fascinated by the design aspect. But sometimes if I was doing content creation, it was really hard to come up with blog ideas for hockey camps. But I was desperate, so I was willing to take any work. And then I started thinking, sometimes when, I was a little bit unhappy, I'm sitting there going, you're doing a job you love. You fought to do this. Why are you so unhappy here? And so I decided to try and think about what would make me happy. And I'm one of those people, like I'm really weirdly passionate about what's happening in the world. Like you watch those SPCA or Humane Society videos and I'm crying, or the Boys and Girls Club here in Canada for youth that need more help and stuff like that, or need more support. Those things really move me. And I wanted to be part of that, making my own little spot in the world a slightly better place, whether it was through environmentalism or helping children or animals or through people who were doing social enterprises. I just thought I could feel like I was using what I love to do and using something I was passionate about at the same time. So I started really hard niching, and it's probably one of the better decisions I've made for my business was doing that niche. There's always this idea that clients are finite, if that makes sense. And they really aren't. There's more businesses now and more people needing help with their businesses now than ever before. And I think that mindset can really hold you back if you have this idea, oh, well, there's not enough clients to go around for all of us wanting to do it. And if people are feeling like that, I really feel that niching is probably a really good strategy.
So a lot of people are saying, how do I get my first client? I'm so overwhelmed. Where are these clients? Like, what would your advice to them be?
You have more clients than you know, right there, just within your network and everything like that. I think people who are doing VAs, you have to get really comfortable with what it is that you're offering, whether it's design, whether it's content strategy, um, whether it's more traditional like data entry stuff. Figure that part out and then look at the people in your life that are already there, that are specific in that area. Um, and once again, I know this is also counterintuitive. Everybody says don't do it, but offer your services for free for a testimonial. Everyone is really, really against that because, as again, everyone says they really want to be paid for their time. And I get that. And I'm not saying you don't deserve to be, but your first clients, you know what? When you're still trying to build a reputation for yourself, when your processes are still not in place, when your contract is still not quite, watertight to hold back problems that are definitely going to arise. Sometimes that friend or family can be really helpful in not only giving you the testimonial, but giving you the experience you need. I guess another one would be definitely go to places like your local food bank or whatever matters to you, your local dance studio or whatever, and offer to help them out in things for experience. You can always say, let me help you out for 3 months. We'll reevaluate. If I've given you some benefits, then we can re-talk about prices and stuff like that.
I love that. I love that because you say so many of us are stuck in the online space and we think all our clients exist online and that's the only way we can get clients. But you talk about going out into the real world and connecting with your local businesses in person and offering to help them out.
I would say probably 75% of my clients are people that I've met, not in the online world. I do get online clients, but I'm still engaging with them. I'm getting them off of LinkedIn or off of Facebook groups. I've never gotten a client I've not personally had an engagement with, whether it was like a messaging conversation or I wrote an article that they read or something. I've never had a client just come to my website and say, "Oh, it rocks, I want to hire you." It's always because I've built a connection with them beforehand. So there's value in getting out, going for walks and just meeting people and being in the community. For sure, we always, want this online community so we can travel, but even in traveling, at your local campsite or hostel or wherever you're staying, there's people there that you can start meeting and making contacts with. And once again, I just want to caution, don't try and make a contact to get a client. You make a contact because you're generally interested in connecting. And you never know where that will go. So,
yeah, I completely agree. And I'm 100% behind that. It's really interesting because I've done like three interviews with successful VAs so far, and all of them without fail have said, and every VA I've talked to is how they get their first clients by networking and just connecting with people and showing an interest in their business and helping them solve problems. That is absolutely, and that's how it worked for me. Well, that's not how it worked for me actually, because I started off on Upwork, which is kind of losing its luster, or it already has quite a bit. Like those job boards have kind of lost their luster. Or a lot of people might, well, no one's mentioned this, but cold pitching is another way to get clients. Again, none of the VAs I've talked to have ever mentioned cold pitching.
Well, I should have, because I have done that for sure.
You have done that. Okay.
When I started niching into my area of nonprofits and charities and everything like that, I for sure did. It was really important to me. I felt at that point I didn't want to give my services away for free because I felt I'd had enough experience at that point. Enough people were hiring me still that I didn't need to. If I wasn't going to get sort of clients in my niche, I still had clients outside of it, but I did want to get into that niche to be feeling like I'm a bigger part of the world, if that makes sense. And I for sure did do cold emails for sure. And I do actually really recommend doing Google searches on how to do it properly.
Yeah.
There's a good way to do it and a not so good way to do it and phone calls as well. I've done cold phone calls as well.
Oh, wow.
The thing with it is you have to realize that, it's hard. It can be emotionally and mentally draining. You're going to get, some very rude people, and you'll probably get about a 2% return.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes that 1 or 2% return is a repeat client that's going to refer you, and now you're part of a network again with referrals. So cold calling or cold emails is a step in the door to then again build more networks within that area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, I love that. And are your clients currently, are they retainer clients or are they one-off kind of projects? How does that work?
I really try retainer because I like the income. I have a mix of both, and honestly, I have clients around the world, which can make mornings really awkward sometimes. I would say probably 80% of my clients are on a retainer basis right now.
I love that.
Yeah, so, once again, I use my skills to figure out what problems people are facing, whether it's keeping their website updated. Some clients constantly need website updates, so they just pay for that. Another one that I do is, especially people who make a really big use of social media, they need graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So for a monthly fee, they get a certain amount of graphics every month. So having that retainer or the monthly recurring sort of work it makes it a lot less stressful, that's for sure. And a lot easier to organize yourself because you know what hours you need to put into where. If you can figure out how to do that, go for it. Take your skills and try and figure out how to make it a monthly thing. Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in terms of how your pricing works at the moment, do you do sort of packages, or do you kind of have an hourly rate that's pay as you go type of thing?
I usually have packages. I don't love the hourly rate.
Mm-hmm.
I find when you give an hourly rate, it seems to be open to discussion for some reason I've yet to figure out. I have done it before when a client hires me on, say they're already a client of mine and they're hiring me for something completely different, but it will just take a couple of hours, in which case I will do an hourly rate. And when I first started, I did an hourly rate, but these days I do it by package.
Okay.
I like it better because I can clarify what is in the package, and that really sets boundaries. When you just give somebody an hourly rate, who knows what's going to come at you?
Mm-hmm.
They might ask you to do something that you have no desire to do, or something that if you don't know how to do, it might take you so much longer, and therefore you end up getting paid peanuts because you put so many hours in to try and do it, and you don't want to charge them the full amount because they'll never do that. So yeah, I do, hourly rates are good for some things, but I try not to use them, or I rarely use them. And I find they for some odd reason, they can be negotiated more than packages in my world. For some reason, clients are like, oh, well, can I put you down a bit from that? So yeah, packages are my thing.
I kind of feel like clients always think they know how long something's going to take or how much effort it's going to take. They're always like, oh, that's not going to take too long. So yeah. And that's where I kind of need a little bit more educating, I find. Anyway, so your packages, so it's a set of deliverables that you kind of include in the package. And so it's so much easier to manage your time and your bandwidth because you know exactly what you need to be working on within that package. Okay. That's great.
Yeah. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with hourly rates too. I think they can really work for people as well. It's just because of the types of services I offer with the graphics design and content, sometimes the package just works better for what I do.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of the context, because you have a graphic design background, so how did you go about offering content? Were you just comfortable writing or you just enjoy doing it?
This actually stems from something my boss said when I was still back in the corporate world and I was working for a communications and digital agency. And they were interviewing for a junior position, and by that time I was more at a mid-level, so I was part of the interview process. And my boss said, whenever you have two people of equal education, equal skill, their portfolios are equally as good, they have great personalities, you think they'd be a great fit, go for the person who's the better writer.
Mm.
And I thought that was really curious, but I started really thinking about it, and I see what they're saying, because writing is all about communication, and communication is absolutely invaluable. So I actually started working on it. I started taking classes in, like, writing. I did a creative writing class, which was really interesting, and kind of invaluable, because then that's how you come up with some really cool ways to say things.
Mm-hmm.
But I also did very simple, like, copywriting courses, just to get my head in the game a little bit, to become comfortable. So I was sort of already a writer when I started out. And it has really become an invaluable part of my service, the ability to write really good, compelling copy. I know there's courses online for it. I really recommend everybody do that. If for no other reason, then you can now communicate with your clients in a very unambivalent sort of way.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Hire the better writer. I mean, I've hired VAs purely on the basis of a well-crafted email.
Right, exactly.
Like, I don't care what degrees you have. I don't care what experience you have, what your testimonials say. If your email kind of knocks me out, like in a good way, I will talk to you. At least I will get on the phone with you. So
yes,
that is so key.
Yeah.
I love that you said that. Because I have a copywriting background as well, and it's helped me do so many different types of jobs just because I could communicate. So many people struggle with getting their message across, and that is such a valuable skill to have that people will hire you for that, for sure. So I love that. Okay, so your son is going to school, but
he's in grade 1 now.
He's in grade 1.
No, he's in grade 1. Yeah.
Oh, grade 1. Okay, so he's in school, which means that you're kind of tied down with school and you can't travel as much. And
I can't, although we are going to South Korea at the end of April for the last couple of months and all throughout the summertime. So.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yes, but once again, I have an ex-partner who's very good about letting me do that.
Oh, amazing. Oh.
Yeah, that's not everybody's. I'm really lucky that way, that my ex lets me do that within reason. He won't let me go to, say, Colombia, but he'll let me go to South Korea. Yeah.
Oh, wow. So how does your day look like? So does he come home like around 3 or 4?
I send him to school, put him on the school bus, and then usually I pick him up. Because then we'll often do something. We'll play together after school in the park or something to get some exercise together. And then we come home, and I may or may not sit down for another hour at the computer doing last minute checks of emails, making sure everything is okay. And then it's not unusual for me to work when he goes to bed. It depends. I don't feel like I'm a workaholic, but sometimes when I look at my hours, I feel like I am. But I really honestly love what I'm doing, so it never feels like I'm a workaholic. But I do. I pick my son up from school. We always play for a little bit. So yeah, my schedule is very much based around him. That being said, he's 7 and he's so amazing. Yes, I'm an iPad mother. Don't tell anyone. I will sit him down with the iPad on a Saturday, and I can get 2 hours of work in now because he's good to go for 2 hours on that iPad. I'm really lucky that way, but I don't think he's a little boy, but he's not rambunctious at all. He's super chill, relaxed. So in that, I'm really lucky because I can do that. I know other parents, that would not work for them.
Yeah, not me. I've got 2 little boys as well, 4 and 5. And they are rambunctious. They are high-spirited, rambunctious little boys. So I never work on weekends. It's just impossible. And my husband is a stay-at-home dad, so he gets them the whole week. So I kind of have to do my part during the weekend.
Right. Yeah.
So I kind of keep my working days contained to the weekday, to the week. So, but it's good. It works for us, and everyone's happy, and yeah, it's good.
I think that's a really key thing in this sort of owning your own business. What we do is finding something that works not only for you but for everybody else. And I think I was mentioning earlier this idea of if you work for 2 weeks really focused and then you need 4 days off, like we have the ability to do that, and we shouldn't be so conditioned by what, you know, our societies or the rest of the world is sort of doing, because to be the best, to be the best for our clients, we should work in a way that really works for us and our families, and not try and fit into other molds or expectations. So,
I'm so happy that you were able to build this life for yourself, because it just shows others that it's possible, and that we can completely design our lives the way we want to, and we don't have to fit that mold, like you said, of the 9 to 5, just because that's the expectation and everyone else is doing it and there's no other way. But you've completely broken that mold, and you're traveling, you're with your son when you need to be, and you're doing work that you love. That you're doing good with the work that you're doing. So it's not just that you love it, but you're helping businesses that are doing good. And
yes.
It just sounds really dreamy.
Yeah, it is. It was hard to get there. And I guess I would caution people not to get this idea that they're going to get there right away, or that they shouldn't keep reinventing themselves. I mean, it was just very recently I niched. And I think that you have to work in small steps and small increments. Don't try to do it all at once. That just gets too overwhelming, and you'll probably think you're a failure and go hide under your bed for 3 days straight if you do that sort of thing. And there's always going to be setbacks. I mean, there's plenty of tears shed over the last few years when things didn't go well or whatever. But and
I feel like many more tears will be shed. And
yeah.
Many more tears are coming, because you're going to be reinventing yourself. You're going to be it's always going to be happening on this journey, I find.
Well, especially in what we do with technology constantly changing and everything, who knows what it's going to be like in the next year. So you have to reinvent and change, and keep up with what's going on in the world, and keep up with your family and your own passions and your own needs. So in that case, definitely tears will come. Yes.
So I'm just going to do one last call out to the group. Does anyone have any questions for Amy? We're going to wrap it up, I think, in a little bit. So if you've got any specific questions about maybe how you arrived at your pricing, or how you built your website, how you market yourself right now, anything at all, I guess I'm asking those questions. Okay, as I'm saying them, but because I don't want to take up too much more of your time. So maybe we could end sort of, if you have any advice for anyone, any moms who are stuck in their 9 to 5 and they've got their kids at home and they're desperate to kind of be at home with them, what other are the first steps they should take to kind of escaping that and building their life as a virtual assistant to be at home and work from home?
Evaluating your skills so you know what your offerings are. I think we all have some pretty amazing skills. You just have to be okay with saying that, yep, this is what I'm a master in, kind of owning it. And then looking for ways to utilize that in sort of an online world, or a world that allows you to stay home. We all have something that we're really special at. So how can you sort of, I guess, monetize it, but monetize it in a way that feels authentic to who you are? As for things like, how much to pay and everything, you're going to make mistakes with that one. Your first contract, you're going to make mistakes from. Somebody's going to take completely huge advantage of you, and you're going to learn from it. I don't really think there's any one way that we can all figure this one out. I can give my what happened to me, and a lot of people will self-identify, oh yeah, I had that one happen to me, but just as many people will be like, oh no, I've never experienced that one. So I do think, because I'm coming from a design background, make sure that your value proposition, or what you're offering to people, make sure that it is really as professionally well done as you can get. I think most people don't have the money to get professional designers or whatever working for them, but get on the best drag and drop website builder that you can find, whether that's Wix or Squarespace or whatever. You know, do the best you can to look as professional as you can. That does matter. Take what you think is a price that you need to live on, probably drop it a little bit at first, and then just go for it, and then reevaluate what you're charging people in 6 months. And if you've been successful, you can start raising your rates. It's never a problem to raise rates with clients. If they love you, they'll understand why you're doing it.
I love that you said that. I think people need to hear that. People need to hear. Don't be afraid to raise your prices, especially if you're working with someone who loves what you do.
No, but there's always this formula that people do of how much you need to live. And so then they come out and they're like, well, you know, if I'm going to pay for, you know, my mortgage and the gas for my car that I need and my car payments and insurance and this and that, I need to charge like $55 an hour. Yeah, no, that's not going to happen at first. Sorry. Which is why I'm saying that formula that they always suggest you use, take it and then drop it a bit. Especially when you're starting out.
And then work your way up to $55 an hour. It's totally possible. I'm so embarrassed to say this, but I went on Upwork $70 an hour. $7 an hour I was charging on Upwork. Ridiculous. And now
I started at 17. Yeah, I started at $17 an hour, and now I charge about 60 depending on what it is I'm doing. So, yeah. And I guess that would be another thing. When you do, you know, there's nothing wrong with giving different rates to different people. If you're working for a little mom and pop, you know, shop, and they need help with like data entry stuff or whatever, you're going to charge them something very different than you are a mid-level enterprise. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You do not have a set price for everybody. And that's fine. Nobody expects you to.
Yep. Do whatever works for you, whatever you're comfortable with. I think that's the most important thing. My kids are home now. You're going to start seeing chaos.
Wonderful.
So I just want to say thank you, Michelle, Christina, and Lisa. You've all commented on this. Lisa says that she thanks you so much for sharing your story. She always hears something that she needs to hear. Lisa, I'm so glad you took something away from Amy's story. Amy, thank you so much for sharing your story and all of your insights. They were amazing, so much value, and very kind of you to come on and share your story. Kindness.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I say anything, I just thank you for taking the time to listen to me chat about myself. Doesn't that make you feel great for the day? Just be authentic to yourself. Just really dig deep into who you are and what your needs are and what works for you and your family, and start small. Start small and build big.
Amazing. And where can we find more about you and what you do?
You can find me, so I'm just transitioning over a website right now. It's hellotiltstudios.com.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone who's watching live and on the replay. Have a wonderful day, guys. And thank you so much again, Amy.
Thank you.
Bye.